Hello, everybody. Welcome to SportsSkope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on the most influential sports show in the country. A lot I want to talk about tonight, NBA playoffs. Kudos to the New Jersey, Brooklyn Nets winning their play-in game today. Kyrie looking smooth as silk out there. Love him or hate him, man, that guy's really talented. Really good game there. Also, Kevin Durant, 25 points. So it looks like they're going to get their play-in game. Going to be interesting there. They're going to be on the 7th seed. I can't remember who they're going to be playing now that I think about it. It's going to be an interesting series, though, either way, because of their lack of defense. So tonight, going to get into there's some mysteries about this Dwayne Haskins death that nobody else is talking about. Very sad, unfortunate situation down in the Fort Lauderdale area off Interstate 595. He was hit by a dump truck, and I've got a lot of questions I want to ask and bring up here on the program. But first, and I'm also going to get into the new discrimination suit added on with the Brian Flores suits. I'm gonna give my opinion and tell you guys what I think of that. But first, lack of leadership, structure. Let's talk about structure first. Everybody needs structure. I don't care if you're a kid or if you're a senior citizen. You need some type of structure in your life. I hated that word structure as growing up as a kid. I just wanted to watch cartoons as a 10-year-old, 9-year-old, and play basketball in the backyard or wherever, and just chill. I didn't really want to go to school, didn't want to do none of that stuff, right? And the truth of the matter is I needed structure. I still need structure. Even if you are the owner of a big company, whether you're a worker, you're the owner of the big company, or you're an independent entrepreneur, you still need some type of structure. You still need some type of structure with your schedule, your routine, how you get up and do things, or you'll never get anything done. If I didn't have any structure in my schedule, I would just lay around and eat all day. Just chill, eat. And you could see that lack of structure with everybody been talking about the Lakers. Frank Vogel was fired, as I mentioned last week at this time. He was likely going to be fired. There's a lack of leadership. There's a lack of structure in the NBA. And now it's gotten so big, it's gotten so blatant that now the mainstream media, a rhythm and routine. Thank you, Pickles. That the mainstream sports media has pointed out, particularly, I'm going to talk about the lack of leadership in the NBA. 5 players, Pickles, 5 players, the most in NBA history, have played 82 games this year. But the Lakers, Jay Williams, former NBA player, Duke star, speaking of, we're talking about Coach K last week. He even called this out, and it's worse than I thought. Listen up. Talking about the Lakers and their lack of structure and the craziness and lack of chain of command, what led to this fire, and why would anybody want that job? This is him on the NBA. This is Jay Williams. This is NBA on ESPN talking about the culture inside the Lakers organization, and it's one of the worst jobs in the NBA. I agree. Jay Williams.
The Lakers are one of the worst jobs in the NBA. It has one of the poorest cultures in the NBA. You just told me that
they just won a championship 19 months ago.
They did, and let me tell you what's happened since then. So Tyler turns down the job because they want to control who's on his staff. That is a problem. Jason Kidd, a guy who was
at the time they did.
But Key, that's still a symptom of the bigger problem.
By the way, it's Keyshawn Johnson, a football player who hated structure, who needed plenty of structure, needed a guy like a Bill Parcells to get in his rear end and a John Gruden. That's who's arguing with him, someone who needs structure. That's the other voice you hear in the background. I digress. Listen to the rest of the
There are a lot of cooks in this kitchen. You have Rob Pelinka, you have Kurt Rambis sitting inside coaching meetings, telling Frank Vogel who his starting lineup should be after this man's won a championship. You have Jason Kidd, who decides to turn down the job. You have Monty Williams, the coach of the Phoenix Suns, the best team in the NBA, that says, I don't like this culture, I'm going to turn down a job. You have so many people. You have roster moves being made for a coach who is a defensive-minded coach, and they changed the roster without really even consulting him, losing KCP, losing Alex Caruso. You tell me, when you have Jeannie Buss, who's trying to control things with Rich Paul. You have LeBron James and Rich Paul trying to jockey for position. You have Kurt Rambis, who is sitting inside coaching meetings. You have Linda Rambis, who is consulting Jeannie Buss. You have Rob Pelinka, who is in working his angles. You have Magic Johnson, who's making comments on things here and there. What kind of culture is that? How can you have any autonomy? It seems like Frank Vogel was the last guy to have autonomy. You have Quinn Snyder, who's the head coach of the Utah Jazz, saying, no, I'm less interested because they fired their coach off a tweet from Woj before they even had a chance to talk to their coach. What kind of culture is this?
Yeah, Rob Snyder. Why would Rob Snyder, Quinn Snyder, Rob Snyder, funny comedian, of the Utah Jazz even look at that job? Why would Nick Nurse of the Toronto Raptors, who made knockout Philadelphia, why would they want that job? And did you guys hear all those names that he mentioned? There is no structure there. They make it up as they go along. There is no structure there, you know. And then I found some more stuff on this. I found out that the Lakers, other than winning that bubble championship, they're 1-11 in the playoffs in the last 11 years. They've got one playoff win in the last 11 years. And you've got, and I mentioned last week, Magic Johnson said he had a deal to bring DeMar DeRozan, who had a career year, to play with LeBron. Not to mention that Rob Pelinka is the GM. Another sign of total chaos, no official set chain of command, no structure in this organization. You see all those names he brought up? You see all that? Too many cooks, not enough. Too mmany cooks in the kitchen, too many chiefs, not enough Indians, too many cooks spoils the stews. What Pickle says. Yeah, this total just. And even LeBron James brought up, now he did it as a jab, he brought up Sam Presti. He's the general manager of Oklahoma City Thunder, a guy who gets in and out of big contracts like nobody's business. And this is what I do if I am Jeannie Buss. First of all, we get some structure and leadership going. All right. You fire everybody in management and you take your time. I think I had this conversation with you all about 2 years ago. But who's keeping track? Okay. Go after a Sam Presti or someone equivalent to and say, I know this is going to be about a 7-year hardcore rebuild, but what we're going to do is actually build a foundation that's an actual foundation. These are like trailer park homes on quicksand. That's what they're building on right now. Let's build a real foundation. Mr. Presti, I'm going to hire you. I'm using him for example. Whatever title you want to put on him, that's fine with me. President, general manager, shot caller. So I'm going to hire you, and you can build your staff any way you want to do it. All right. If we need new scouts, you get new scouts. Okay. If we need, you want to do away with this coach staff, that's fine. Okay. And then I'm going to give you 7 years. And then what he's probably going to do, he's going to go to LeBron James and say, okay, where do you want to go? Because you're not staying here. Where do you want to go, LeBron? And LeBron's going to say, okay, I want to go blah, 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 blah. And then you call that team, whatever team X or Y is, get as much as you can, Same thing with Anthony Davis. You dump Russell Westbrook. You go out and hire a coach, and you draft these young kids here, young men. You tell them, you see this right here? You see this man? You go out and get a coach, and you tell these players on draft day, whatever that coach asks you to do it, or you'll be gone. Whatever he asks you to do it. Don't come to me. Don't come to Jenny Buss. Do what we ask you to do, okay? And even if it takes 7 years, that's what I would do. And I would get out of the way and give that power and authority to this person. That's how you deal with people like that. There's the same story coming out. Again, 5 players only played. And now, mind you, we're in the world with trainers. The nutrition's better. The education's better. And 5 players played 82 games this year. This is that lack of leadership and backbone in pro sports, NBA. And I'm going to tackle the NFL here in a minute. And finally, you're starting to get the mainstream media. The commissioners even said that this is a problem. And Pickle says Jerry West was an ideal shot. Yeah. And I've read his book. I'm watching Winning Time, the start of the Lakers dynasty. It's a little exaggerated, but it's really good. They're going to do another season. And he says, no, I'm hiring this coach and I'm getting out of the way. And he said that in his book about 3 coaches that they went through during, like a 2-year period. It's a lot to get into. I digress. So check this out. 5 players played 82 games. Dwight Powell, Kevin Looney, Mikal Bridges. Those are the 3 I've heard of. Denny Avadije and Sakub Bey from the Pistons. This Adonijay looks like he plays for the Washington. And this other guy plays for the Pistons. Mikal Bridges, Kevin Looney, Dwight Powell. I know those 3 guys, not even really. These are just starters, I think, role players. 5 players. And I look back at the history of the great players in the past that has played 82 games. I mean, Bird, Jordan, played like 9 years. Larry Bird, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 82. But when he wouldn't play in 82, it was 77, 79. That's 90-something%. Even Shaq, he had his years where he played. Magic Johnson, 79. And the year he supposedly had AIDS, just before he got HIV. 79, 79, 77, 72, 80. That's respect for the league, you know? And that's that lack of people not wanting to be, that's the leadership thing. Leadership is when you make decisions that are not popular, that you're going to get criticized for, but are for the greater good. Like making these players play games, you know? So with all this, all this technology, all this dietitian, all this stuff, and of course, Greg Popovich is part of it with the load management stuff, right? With these most expensive seats out there to go see these guys play. And so, you know, and like I said, NBA jock sniffers like Colin Cowherd talk about this, finally said something about it. He says players should be only can play in the All-Star game or make the All-NBA team if they play 85%. That would be his proposal. Play 85% of the games. And that stuff is tied to your contract, your incentives. I say make it less guaranteed contracts, have more, not all the way, not guaranteed, less guaranteed. And I would agree with him there. 85%. Take your league back, man. Take your league back. Put your general managers and coaches. If everybody did that, it wouldn't be a players' league in air quotes. Because if Kyrie Irving in air quotes says, we'll go start our other league, you know what would happen? By the time he's 50 and he's got a 25-year-old kid, young man, trying to tell him that he's not going to play on this day and he's not going to play on that day, guess what? He's going to have the same problems that the NBA's having now. You see what I'm saying? He's going to have those same problems. If you want to do away with the back-to-backs, I'm fine with that. I've said this again, like the Lakers, we've had this conversation for years, folks. Spread it out. Put these playoffs in June and July, the finals in July, no back-to-backs. You'll get better ratings, 85% to make your incentives, the NBA team, Defensive Player of the Year, score and title. I think Joel Embiid is probably going to win that, MVP. If you get injured, that's on you. You have to play. To get MVP, you have to get so many games, 85%. Okay, respect the game. Jason Whitlock said John Stockton played 16 years, 82 games. He played 19 years in the NBA. And that was back in the day. That was back in the day. And I think it's good to not have back-to-backs. Why have a back-to-back if the star players aren't playing? You know, this is a very expensive game, the NBA. It is very expensive to go to. It's a lot of fun to go to. I went to one a few years ago. My good friend Rich here out of Nashville, saw the Memphis Grizzlies. That was with the Marc Gasol bunch. You know, I'll get into the back to the playoffs here in just a little bit, jumping around. But have respect for your league. Less guaranteed contracts. And if you still want to play 82, play 82. But spread it out. Put the finals in July. Again, this fear from TV executives. Fear is immobilization, right? T. Boone Pickens. People can stream this stuff off their phone. You're still going to get your ratings point. Even if you're on vacation. If I'm in Vegas, I'm watching the game, man. Even if I'm on vacation, you're out of town with the wife or girlfriend. She knows that you like sports. She might like to watch the game too. You're still going to get that rating from the hotel room at night. I still say you spread it out and make these incentives and take back your league. Have some structure, LA Lakers. Take back your league. Stop letting players be general managers. Coaches don't make general managers, much less players. They got to work on their game. You know, don't make players be general managers. Let coaches coach. Let general managers get personnel there and deal with the salary cap. They have a luxury tax in the NBA, you know, and that will fix your problems. That will fix your problem. Take back your game, you know. So that is what I have to say about that. You know what? I'm going to come back to the NBA because I'm in that kind of mood right now. I'm going to go to the NFL, and I'm going to talk about 2 NFL stories, and I'll go back to the NBA playoffs, okay? Again, lack of leadership, weakness will you can get taken advantage of, you get pushed over. There's an old saying, Pickles, don't feed the bears. Don't feed the bears. Why? Because the bears want more and more and more. And when the bears get done eating, they're eventually going to eat you, right? There's another saying, Some days you get the bear, some days the bear gets you. But anyways, I digress. 1 week ago, on this show, we talked about briefly that the NFL was going to instate a mandatory rule. It's like 29-3 with the this was in light of the Brian Flores lawsuit. Okay. The NFL puts in a rule for the head coach to take in a minority assistant. No matter, it has to be a minority. It has to be someone black, and it has to be a minority. This was like a week ago, right? I think it's like a 2-year deal. And it's got to be offense. It's got to be, I guess there's not enough minority coaches who are offense. Okay. How ironic that a week after you give in to that, without even investigating it, black or female, thank you for Pickles says black food. 1 week later, 2 more coaches jump on the lawsuit, the racial discrimination lawsuit, Brian Flores against the NFL. Now, let me just be clear with you. I had this conversation with my dad the other day, folks, and I don't take up for the owners, okay? But when I see BS, I'm going to call BS, okay? Owners should pay for their own stadiums. They should pay for their own renovations, not the taxpayers. We show up. If everybody had that, and some owners do. I want to say the guy in LA does, the Walton guy. But I think Jerry Jones, as much as I criticize, I think for the majority, I'm 99% sure Jerry Jones pays for his stuff. But a lot of them don't. They want you, the taxpayer. So I'm not taking up for the owners. But when I see stuff like this is out of the Guardian. Not necessarily a pro-owner website. So this is a story here, okay? I'm going to read this because I want to make some comments on this. Two more NFL coaches joined Brian Flores' racial discrimination lawsuit, according to the Guardian. 2 more coaches joined this lawsuit, which alleges the league is racially segregated and managed much like a plantation. That's in quotation marks. The updated lawsuit adds coaches Steve Wilks and Ray Horton. Wilks alleges he was discriminated against in Arizona in 2018, and Horton claims he was subject to discriminatory treatment when he was interviewed for the Tennessee Titans head coaching position back in 2016. The rewritten lawsuit from Flores also criticized the NFL for its response to the lawsuit he brought against the team several weeks ago. A release from the lawsuit attorney says Mr. Wilks was hired as a bridge quarterback and was not given meaningful chance to succeed. But let's go back here. The NFL, this is from Brian Flores, is racially segregated and managed much like a plantation. Okay, so Brian Flores says that in the original lawsuit. The NFL's managed like a plantation. Okay, so Brian, let me ask you this. If this is true, what you're saying, your words, not mine, why did you take the job after filing this lawsuit against this racist league? Why did you take a job with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Why did you take a job on the plantation? Why did Colin, who also says it's racist, Colin Kaepernick, right? He puts out a Netflix documentary about the slavery of the NFL, the plantation, same reference. Why are you at Michigan's pro day? Now, I think it was their spring game, trying out for NFL teams. Answer those 2 questions. Let's go back to Brian Flores. Why did you do that? Why didn't you go to an HBC, historically black college, if you want to keep it real, at the college level while this suit is pending? Answer that question. All right? As far as these other lawsuits, again, calling balls and strikes, but you can't say this on terrestrial, but I'm going to tell you the truth, what I really think, because I call BS when I see it. All right. Now, the Rooney Rule, which says you have to interview a minority or somebody, whatever, that's external. Keep that word in mind. External for your job. Your head coaching position. So this has been in play for 20 years. The Rooney Rule has been in play for over right at 20 years. Okay. So Arizona Cardinals coach Ray Horton says in 2000 he was hired as a bridge quarterback. All right. He was fired after one season. Steve Wilks. Steve Wilks for Arizona, 2018, was fired as a bridge quarterback or head coach. Now, you say, well, that's wrong. He's black. He should have got more time to coach the Arizona Cardinals 1 year. I agree. It wasn't because he was black. Was he the only coach that got fired after 1 year of being a coach? No. Urban Meyer, who blocked me on Twitter, which I take that as a badge of honor, by the way, and that's another story. But I may actually get to that later. Urban Meyer was fired after 1 year. He's white. He's not black. Okay, so that argument kind of don't have no weight. Tom, what's this guy's name? He's got an oddball name, Goscini, whatever. Oh, Lord. Jim Tomsula, San Francisco, 2015. 1 year. Not black, by the way. Fired after 1 year. Just wasn't a good fit. So that's two right there. So that debunks that. And by the way, Steve Wilks still gets paid. Still gets paid. Ray Horton. He was interviewed by the Tennessee Titans. Well, the Titans wanted to hire Mike Mularkey in-house, but they're just going by the rule. The rule is you have to interview, and I don't want people's I do not want people's time to be wasted. That's why I'm not a fan of the Rooney Rule. And by the way, for the record, let's hit this home, folks. There's 20% of the general managers in the NFL right now are black. That's more than the national average. Okay? Since Brian Flores filed this lawsuit, two more coaches that are minorities have been hired. One in Tampa, one in Miami. Ironically, the one who replaced them. Another debunk about the media is not talking about Brian Flores. The main reason he was fired was because he bumped heads with guess what? A black general manager. His name is Chris Greer. So it's really, and Ray Horton, and all this stems from lack of leadership by Roger Goodell, who believes in, hold on, let me change out my okay. It started by Roger Goodell, who believes in what we talked about before, right? He listens to our sports media, who gets their information for, and this ain't right, left, or political, radical Twitter. Yes, I said it. Radical Twitter. He's weak. He hires weak people who respond. And again, I take matters like this serious too. If I am the commissioner for a day and you bring this to my desk, you know what I'm going to say publicly? I'm going to handle it different than what they said. I'm going to say, we take these allegations very seriously, and we're going to put, since we already have in place, in air quotes, an investigation team that we use to investigate all these crimes we shouldn't investigate. We should leave that to law enforcement. That's a different story. But we're going to investigate these allegations. And if our team finds out that these allegations are true, we're going to pay you quickly, and we're going to advise all 32 teams to hire you good men, because Brian Flores is a good football coach. But if we find these, which I think they are, to be nonsense and not true, we're going to countersue you. We're going to countersue you for damaging the reputation of our shield, okay? And our legal fees. Mainly apology. And that cuts it out. That's leadership, Pickles. That's not backing down from the woke culture pushed by Twitter. Oh, God, Robert, you can't do that. That's racist. I say, yeah, call me what you want to call me. But at least you're calling me, right? Call me what you want to call me. But the mob, our Twitter mob and media, they'll make a big deal about that early. You know what happened after that? All that will go away. You say, that's a terrible pick. No, let's have him back. David Stern, the former commissioner, he was called everything but his name when he put in the dress code in the NBA. The players took to it. They liked it. They liked to wear the suits. But he was called everything, put in rap songs and all that. So that's what would happen to me. If I'm the commissioner, you're going to come at me. It's all fade with the wind. Because the NFL is what people that do not want. See, that's a handout right there. So he gave the handout, and they saw weakness. See, these two coaches who don't have a leg to stand on. Now, I don't like the Rooney Rule. I hate it for you because it wastes your time. They don't have a leg to stand on from everything I read. They said, we're going to get some more stuff from the NFL. See, it's just a principle to me that ticks me off. And I'm really irritated with Goodell. And these owners, they don't care. They just make the money. But if I'm commissioner, I'm saying, I tell you what, if we find out this is bogus, we're going to countersue, man. That's a guarantee. But if we find out they're legit, we're going to pay this thing off. We're going to make some change. We're going to do all this, you know. Now, is there problems in the NFL and hiring? Yes, there is. I'm out of Nashville, Tennessee. The real story, from what I understand, Bud Adams, Jeff Fisher, Pickles, he was not fired. Jeff Fisher, Coach Fisher, used to coach Steven there, Tennessee Titans, for lack of scheme and not winning. But that should have been the main reason, because his scheme was dated and everything. He should have been fired, or he was supposedly fired, because he wanted to hire his son. Fresh out of college from Montana, right? Go right on the NFL team. That's a problem. That's a problem that I see. Was it Shane Beamer? Frank Beamer's son is one of the youngest coaches in the SEC. Well, he was born on third base. Bill Belichick's son, Pickles, works with the Patriots. That's a problem. My rule would be no coach's son, brother-in-law, son-in-law cannot work on the staff. I just think it's bad optics. It's nepotism. It's just bad optics, you know. And I understand that, hey, just like I can't help it, the fact that I was born just outside them projects from the Titans Stadium, they can't help they were born on third base. Sean McVay cannot help he was born on third base. I'm not saying they should not get jobs in the NFL. I'm just saying that you cannot hire your son. It just don't look good. You know, no nepotism. Take out nepotism. And Bud Adams was right. This was like 15, 18 years ago. They said, no. And then Fisher's like, okay, well, I quit. Well, yeah. Well, you're not doing anything anyways. Your scheme is outdated. And that's what happened. But so that's how I would handle that situation. If you start feeding the bears, you're just gonna keep on feeding. You're gonna keep on, and that's Goodell. Have some leadership, make a decision. Don't worry about the criticism. This is a strong league. This league is built. Anybody can make it in NFL. If you could run and can take a hit, you can make it. And if you don't have to be the biggest guy in the world, you don't have to be the strong. You have to be tough. And any guy from any walk of life can make the NFL. That's the beauty of it. The NFL they put let's go with 100 new millionaires out. That's a conservative number. 100. And because I'm talking about the draft. We got the draft coming up this month. 100 new millionaires. 70% of them, according to the statistics, are minority. The NFL, if it was so racist, signed a black guy, and I endorsed it, to the highest guaranteed contract in NFL history, $230 million. Deshaun Watson with 22 civil sexual assault suits pending against him. That's your racist NFL, Twitter. And of course, they got hell for that. But I endorsed it. That's a whole different subject. That's just, but Deshaun Watson. So again, do away with the Rooney Rule. Do away with nepotism. You've got 20% is the guys doing the hiring. Okay, they're black. That's even better than a coach because they're the guy hiring the coach. They shouldn't be forced to hire a minority. And another thing to throw in, that Jason Whitlock, the black guy, Twitter hates him because he tells the truth. He says, something, the Dolphins are the most wokest team in the league. They had the most blackest organization, general managers, coaching staff, the biggest staff in the whole league. So it's really hard to do. But while I'm on the Dolphins, I'm not a big Stephen Ross fan. I'm about to call him an idiot. Okay? Switching gears, staying with the Dolphins. According to the Boston Globe, that story about Tom Brady, before this Brian Flores lawsuit came about, Tom Brady, that turned out to be true. Tom Brady was supposed to retire, stay retired, and the Dolphins, again, it's stupid, so I believe it. It's stupid. It's a headline grabber. Tom Brady was supposed to, the Dolphins were going to work out a trade to bring Brady out of retirement, trade with the Bucks because he's still under contract. And, of course, Sean Payton, who's still under contract, which means the Dolphins would have had to use their trade capital to trade for Sean Payton, the former Saints coach, because who's still under contract, and Tom Brady. And Brady was going to be made part owner and player. So, okay, so you're trading all this stuff to get him. He's going to play 1 year. And then what are you going to do with Tua? And then what are you going to do with no draft capital and his contract money still on your books? What are you going to do with the Dolphins? That sounds like the stupidest thing ever. And Tom Brady and Sean Payton should be counting their blessings that Brian Flores did sue the Miami Dolphins, because it sounded like an idiotic idea. Because you're going to have to trade for a guy who's going to play probably 1 year or two. I think, let me tell you something about Brady. Love Brady. He's best to go. I get it. He's going to play 1 year too many. But what the Dolphins are going to do, and again, this is all Stephen Ross. This sounds such like a headline-grabbing, no sense-making kind of proposition according to Boston Globe. Bring in a player, play 1 year, probably, or two, and then go be an owner somewhere, a minority owner of the team. And then what's Sean Payton going to do? He's going to be stuck there trying to find another quarterback for years. But The Dolphins make the headlines. The Dolphins will be the talk. So that's why I believe it, because it sounds so stupid. That's Stephen Ross for you. Again, just because I spoke up for the owners don't mean I care for the owners, okay? I just call balls and strikes and BS as I see it, Pickles, okay? Okay. Now to a more somber moment here. Saturday, I'm doing my laundry. I'm messing around with my phone, waiting for my clothes to dry. Read this headline. Dwayne Haskins, former Ohio State quarterback, Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, hit by a car and killed on 595, which is I've been to Miami. I've been to Fort Lauderdale. That is a bypass of 95. Interstate 95, Pickles, is a busy interstate. And that's a bypass. I'm out of Nashville. That's like 440. That's a pretty busy interstate. If you just read this from afar, you think, highway, does that mean it's got red lights? No, there's no red lights. This is a interstate, a small interstate, but this is interstate. And of course, Adam Scheffner gets heat for it. Now, you know, I threw him under the bus last week. Adam Scheffner gets heat for it because he said the guy struggled, which he did, you know, struggling to catch on, play for Washington and Pittsburgh. But that's a different part of this story. Okay, there are questions about this wreck. 6 lanes, 90 miles an hour, what Pickle says. This is questionable. Okay, I have searched. I thought about this all weekend. I just went on the website about an hour before I came on the program, Pickles. Okay, one report, said unverified sources, unverified information says that his car ran out of gas and he was walking to get gas. Today, that was the other day, and that was a local Fort Lauderdale website. Every other website, the National People, CNN, Fox News, NFL, ESPN, Fort Lauderdale, NBC, Miami, you name it, I checked it out. Nobody else. They all say that this information is not all been verified. This is still under investigation. Police are being limited on the release of the information of this particular case. And, you know, he was supposedly going down there to work out with another quarterback, Chase Claypool, Mitch Trubisky, throwing with Chase Claypool, Najee Harris, and all that. Now, why was he walking? Why was he? Bingo, Pickles, toxicology report. Why are you walking at local time, the 6 o'clock hour, on a busy interstate? A man called 911 before he was hit by this dump truck and said, there is a man walking in traffic, not on the side, walking in the traffic. I am worried about him. People are veering over. Okay? I'll bring this up because a few years ago, back in 2016, Chandler Jones, does that ring a bell, Pickles? Chandler Jones, former New England Patriot, was smoking synthetic marijuana, he claims. Not marijuana, synthetic marijuana. He was outside of a police station on his knees with a T-shirt on and shorts and a T-shirt praying in a parking lot. Totally just, and that he was taken to a hospital. The police department took him to the hospital. He said, I had a bad reaction. So I looked up what the heck is synthetic marijuana? What's the difference? Synthetic marijuana is made from a laboratory. It can cause hallucinations. It can cause people to do crazy things. It is described as like an LSD, even though it's, from what I read, it's more like a hallucinant. I'm not saying Dwayne Haskins is on drugs, but this sounds more like something of that merit. There was no car found with Dwayne Haskins. People say he sounds suicidal. I thought so too, but he was happy the day before. There's a video, Pickles, of him talking about Burberry with Najee Harris. He just signed a 1-year deal to continue to play with the Pittsburgh Steelers, to compete with Trubisky, Mason Rudolph. So if I want the toxicology, and I understand this guy's got a family. He's a young man. This is very sad and depressing. But we also would like to find out if he was doing something like a synthetic marijuana. Check this out, Pickles. I emailed a story to myself. This is from BuzzFeed a few years ago. 24 horrible stories of edible marijuana highs gone bad. 24 horrible stories of edible marijuana highs go bad. So this is not I'm a teenager. I smoked pot. Okay. I didn't like it. Gained weight. You know, some people say it makes you paranoid, but this is made in a lab. Synthetic marijuana. And this sounds like that type of situation. I hope that it can get looked at, okay? Again, I mentioned Adam Schefter. I wouldn't have said that he was struggling and you're the first person to break that story. I would have just said, we'll give you some context. Former Ohio State starter, he put out in a tweet and he got roasted for it. If I'm Adam Schefter, I'm just saying, listen, Dwayne Haskins, former Ohio State standout, Washington football team, and Pittsburgh Steelers ran over by a dump truck and pronounced dead at the scene. That's all I would have said. I wouldn't have said nothing about struggling. He got roasted for it. And Pickles said it may have been meth. I don't know, but it needs to be looked at. It sounds too suspicious. If I'm putting my pride aside, if I'm that parent of him and I want to raise awareness, if this is some kind of drug that he was taking, I don't want somebody else's son or daughter to get hit by a car doing this mysterious drug. If there is a drug, maybe he did break down, but it didn't say why didn't he use the phone? Why didn't he use the phone? Why wasn't the car found or the vehicle found? None of that's mentioned. None of that is mentioned. I know people get ashamed, and hopefully we'll get to know more about this story. The side story, the lack of empathy for the guy. Listen to what longtime NFL scout Gail Brandt Pickles used to be for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm sure Jim Jeffcoat knows who Gil Brandt is, you know. Gil Brandt says he made an insensitive comment. I'm trying to look for it now. And he made an insensitive comment. This is, by the way, this is Schefter's apology.
Of Dwayne Haskins and the tweet that I posted this weekend. It was insensitive. It was a mistake. And I can assure you is not my intention.
So yeah, that's his apology. So Gail Brandt on XM Radio Saturday morning just said what he thought, man. And I've got it, Pickles, and I'm going to play it. I don't care how long it's going to take for me to find it because it's pretty interesting. Okay, here's Gail Brandt. I want to say, you ever read on NFL radio when asked about Dwayne Haskins? This is Gail Brandt, former longtime Dallas Cowboy. scout, 90 years old. I didn't know he's that old. Check this out. Very insensitive. I'll talk about it after the bite.
You did chronicle his career got to know the young man a little bit, but also from a scouting standpoint, you analyzed him over the years at Ohio State and coming into the league with the Washington Commanders and then going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, it's a terrible tragedy, and I wanted your thoughts on that, and also on the player, because you did chronicle his career very closely.
Well, Dan, I hate anytime anybody is killed or anybody dies. But he was a guy that was living to be dead, so to speak.
Living to be dead.
They told him, don't under any circumstances leave school early. You just don't have the work habits. You don't have this. You don't have that. What do you do? Left school early. I always can remember this. We invited players to the draft, and he was one of the players we invited to the draft. And we were told, no, we're going to have our own party. His own party was a party at a bowling alley, charged him $50 to get into the bowling alley for his party. It was always something, It's one of those things. I'm never offside, but they keep calling me for offside. Is what it is. So, it's a tragic thing. Anytime anybody dies, it's tragic. And especially when you're 24 years old and you got your whole life ahead of you. But maybe if he'd have stayed in school a year, he wouldn't do silly things. I mean, when you're jogging on a highway, on a road like that leaves it open because
now that's an old man with no filter pickles. He jogging on the highway like that. Now he's a straight shooter, like Pickle says. Jason Whitlock says he's a typical 90-year-old. He don't have a filter. He just says what he thinks, sensitive or not. Now, later on, to his defense, he did say, I was way out of line. He apologized for it. And listen, guys, just between us, okay? I'm guilty of it too. When I first read this, when I'm doing my laundry, doing my routine, I read it about 10:30 Central Time, just when it actually broke, the story broke. And the first thing was, oh my God, this is crazy. This is horrible. My second thought was, well, they're probably going to draft another quarterback because they've got Mason Rudolph and Mitch Trubisky. Now, that's a terrible way to think. So I had to catch myself to realize, hey, this guy's got parents. I think he recently got engaged. And yes, okay, some of these guys are immature. Guess what? I don't know if I could handle that at 24. I don't know if I could. I mean, you need some strong leadership around you, good mentorship to be able to handle being an NFL quarterback at 24 years old, getting that first big check. He was immature. We all are at some point. We all mature at different ages, and that's okay. I mean, it's life. The guy was just a little immature. We can see that. Baker Mayfield's immature. He's a starting quarterback, Miguel Brandt, he apologized, but we do have a tendency, I see in myself, of thinking of these guys as pieces to puzzles rather than young people still trying to figure it out just because they can play a game really good, that they're still human beings. And I'm glad that Brandt did apologize. And I believe, even though I've thrown Scheffner under the bus, I believe, his apology too, and I don't really care for the guy. He is a little weird. I said everything I said last week, I still stand by. But some people are saying for him to get fired. That's that cancel culture, though. They want Adam Scheffner to get fired for that. Gail Brandt don't care. He's 90. He's got a lot of pensions, and he's got, at 90, you pretty much got one foot in the grave, dead on a banana pill anyways, Read North Dallas 40. I saw the movie, I remember. And what's that guy? Mike Golick, Pickles, says that North Dallas 40, and I've seen the movie a couple times, pretty good. He said that's the most truest movie to the NFL out there. And that was just a few years ago. This movie came out in the 70s. The realistic, the realities, the coldness of the NFL. Bobby Wagner, guys, talk about the coldness. Found out through Twitter that he got cut by the Seattle Seahawks. The heart and soul of that defense found out that he got cut through social media rather than the general manager of Pete Carroll himself. That's just crap, you know. Treat them right. I still believe in hard-nosed everything, but yeah, treat guys like human beings, you know. Going back to the NBA, again, kudos to this. I think they're playing Boston next, Pickles. The Nets, they have advanced out of the one-and-done game. They've played Cleveland. I don't know what. Last I checked, Minnesota's at the beginning of the game. They were leading the LA Clippers. Okay. But as far as the NBA playoffs are concerned, if I can find my NBA playoff notes. Okay. My comments on the playoffs. Here's a few things to think about. Philadelphia is probably going to get the MVP, Joel Embiid. Won the scoring title, didn't he? Well, they got to play Toronto. They're 0-3, Pickles, against Toronto. And in the regular season, 2 of those games are with James Harden. If they lose, Nets to get Boston. Pickles says Nets to play. That's going to be a great series. That will probably be a high-scoring 6 or 7 game. I'll probably wager it, Pickles. Toronto's going to play Philadelphia. But if Toronto beats Philadelphia and one of the Philadelphia players is not vaccinated, he cannot play in Toronto. I think it's 5 or whatever. It's not James Harden or Embiid or Harris. It's not those 3. They're going to be in trouble. Barkley thinks that they're going to be in trouble. I think Philadelphia probably win it in about 6 or 7 games. But if they don't, I think Doc Rivers could be the fall guy. Yeah, I said it, Doc Rivers. They should have beat Atlanta last year. That caused a whole chaos with the Ben Simmons thing. And Doc Rivers could be. That's my thought on that. He could get fired. Dallas, I think's out. I think Dallas is done. Calf strain. No real timetable on Luka Doncic coming back. I think Dallas will be in trouble. It's unfortunate. I like watching Luka. Boston's success, according to a couple of the insiders, a friend of mine's a good inside Boston. He thinks Robert Williams could be an issue for them, not having him back. Robert Williams. So I think the Nets will probably win, but Boston, who knows? The way Jaylen Brown has been playing, and of course their main player, his name is slipping my mind. They're a wild card, really. Hold on, guys. Let me switch out my. Boston is Jason Tatum, excuse me. So Tatum and Brown, new coaching staff, new attitude, good team chemistry. We'll see. A lot of veterans, a lot of bench depth on Boston. We'll see. Now, if Durant and Irving play like they did tonight, I'll take the Nets in that series. If Robert Williams can come back, maybe they can get all the way to the finals. I like the Heat, but I'm not sure about their offense down the stretch. But I like their defense. I like their grit. I like their depth. I like their coaching in Miami. A lot is working in their favor, okay? All right. Memphis. What's the storyline for Memphis? The storyline for Memphis is they're the number 2 team in the West. They've got a young rising superstar. They got a deep team. They got a good defensive team. Memphis, you've got to win a series. You can't be one and done here. I think you will. I think they're going to probably win 2, probably get to the Western Conference Finals. But Memphis, you cannot just be 1 and done. You cannot do it. As far as everybody else, there's just too many injuries. Jamal Murray's not back. Stephen Curry's not back. So I'm not really concerned about the Denver Nuggets, nor the Golden State Warriors. Just not really sure about Minnesota or LA Clippers. But, with Chris Paul being back, the fact that Phoenix has been there before, the emergence of Devontae Booker, that team chemistry there, the fact that they've been there last year, I think it's going to be a rematch, but Phoenix will probably end up winning this time. Milwaukee's still got everybody, other than PJ Tucker. Milwaukee's going to be a force to be reckoned with, And Pickle says Memphis they were 18-2 without Ja Morant. One of the best rim protectors, Steven Adams, in the game. They've got, I think his name, Dame, I can't remember. They've got a 3-point shooter there that has broke Mike Miller's single season record. They've got a lot working for them. They got some depth. Defense, depth, everything you really need, except they haven't done it. They haven't done it yet. They have to win a series. And Pickles is making my case. Memphis has got to win a series. We know what Phoenix can do. I just don't. Desmond Bain, thank you. He said Desmond Bain, he broke that 3-point record set by Mike Miller. Mike Miller's a great talent. The 3-point shot, guys. Again, I think it's wide open this year. Miami can go. Memphis can go to the finals. Phoenix can go. The East is really open. The Nets, if they get Ben Simmons back, and there's a report he's going to be back, according to Sean Shramia, they could still go. I don't think the Bulls are going to make it. Boston is a wild card, but they can go. Boston, Miami, okay. If Philadelphia can get past Toronto, maybe Toronto goes. It's really it's nip and tuck. That's how you want it. So that's a good story. The East is very competitive, very talented. But to end the show, these teams, you have to honor the regular season, and you have to take back control of your teams. Don't let the players run the league. Let the players pay the players. Let's take the league more serious. Keep the league competitive, okay? And if you guys like the show, share the show. I'm out of notes. I did want to say this, that Urban Meyer, going back to Urban Meyer, I was trying to see what he said about going back to Dwayne Haskins. I couldn't find it. I had to go on my other Twitter account, and I found out that he blocked me. And he said today he's going back into TV. And I was wondering, I look back at my history. I've never tweeted at Urban Meyer. I've talked about him on the program. I've hashtagged it, but I never directly. Only thing I tweeted at Urban Meyer was, "Thank you for watching SportsSkope." That's what I said to Urban Meyer, Pickles. And he blocked me for that. I take that as a badge of honor. And I tell him that to his face. I don't care, I admire the guy. I don't care if he don't like what I got to say, but at least I'm being honest, So have a good night, everybody. Again, check in for your notifications. Something big breaks, I'll stop and break in. I didn't break in much last week. Got really busy in my day job. But I will. And again, I'll be on next week around this time. I'll be on the Mac and Jack and Jim show Sunday. I'll be on there Super Bowl show, Northeast Streaming Network, live there on a draft night just a few weeks from Thursday, folks. And I'm trying to work on a draft myself, a mock draft, to see what I can do. Not sure if I'm going to get one done, but I'm going to try. Very interested in work on it this weekend. So have a good night, everybody. I'll see you next week. Otherwise, same time, same place here on SportsSkope.